Really weird article that popped up for me that I want to talk about. At last, something to wipe that smug look off vegans' faces. Almond milk is killing the planet. So to me, this sounds like anti-vegan, right? Sort of piece written by an anti-vegan. But no, becoming a vegan doesn't mean you're green, and I know I am one. According to a new report into meat substitutes, all the things that vegans hold dear, cashews, avocados, almond milk, are actually killing the planet. Just wait till they hear about nutritional yeast, says longtime meat dodger Paul Clements. So the report Paul is referring to is this one, a multi-criteria analysis of meat and milk alternatives from nutritional, health, environmental, and cost perspectives. So I've heard about cashews, avocado, and almonds specifically being bad for the environment so many times, usually from non-vegans who are trying to shift the conversation, trying to make vegans look like hypocrites, right? Like, oh, you say you care about the environment, you care about beef. Well, what about avocados? The implication being that the foods vegans eat are just as bad as the foods omnivores eat. But omnivores eat these foods too, right? They eat avocado and almond and cashew. In fact, the vast majority of these foods are eaten by omnivores because there just aren't that many vegans. Plus, vegan diets vary. I eat a good amount of avocado, but my husband really doesn't. We eat some amount of almonds and cashews. We don't drink almond milk because it's just not good. I'm sure there are vegans who eat these foods rarely or even not at all, right? Maybe they just don't like them or they have an allergy. That said, I imagine the average vegan or plant-based eater does eat some amounts of these foods. And it's possible that more people going vegan in the future could mean an increase in production of these foods. If these foods, avocado, cashew, and almond, are bad for the environment, that could be bad. But what does bad mean when we're talking about the environment? Like, is there some hard line separating environmentally friendly from environmentally harmful? No, it's a spectrum. We have like obvious, examples of bad, like beef and air travel. Both are terrible for the environment, period. But the vast majority of foods and activities are bad or good in comparison to other options. So when we say plant milks like soy, hemp, rice, oat, and yes, even almond and cashew are more environmentally friendly, we mean in comparison to the mainstream choice, cow's milk, which is exactly what this study says. The study Paul is referring to that supposedly says almond milk is killing the planet. It actually says all meat and milk alternatives had lower environmental impacts per serving than the comparable meat and milk products. Almond milk had 33% of cow's milk's impact. They do say here that replacement with almond milk increased average impacts by 14% due to water requirements, but that's only when comparing per calorie. And because almond milk is typically much lower in calories per serving than cow's milk, it would take about 4 servings of almond milk to equal 1 serving of cow's milk, which is fine. They're doing a calorie comparison, but obviously the vast majority of people in general, not just vegans, but people consuming almond milk are not consuming 4 servings a day, 4 cups a day. And many people are trying to eat fewer calories. And that's even why they buy almond milk, because it's fewer calories. So yeah, seems like a moot point. The real point is that plant milks, including almond and cashew, are significantly better for the environment than cow's milk. To grow the almonds required for a single glass of milk takes 130 pints of water, which is more than a morning shower. And that's before the creamy nut-based drink is air freighted from the warm places where the sun-loving crops can actually grow, typically California, which is responsible for more than 80% of the world's supply. So 130 pints, more than a morning shower. He's trying to make it seem as bad as possible without sharing, the relevant information. How much water does cow's milk require? Oh, okay. And of course, environmental impact is not just about water. This chart from Our World in Data shows that while oat, soy, almond, and rice are all better than cow's milk, there's no clear winner amongst them. Almond milk has lower greenhouse gas emissions and uses less land than soy, but requires more water and results in higher eutrophication. Second, the air freighted comment, right, that it's even worse than the water because it has to be air freighted from California to presumably the UK. That's where Paul's writing from. It It is true that shipping via plane has much greater environmental impact than shipping via boat. Our World in Data gives this example, shipping asparagus from Peru to the UK via plane, 12 kilograms carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram, but via boat, it's only 0.67 kilograms carbon dioxide equivalent. So in this specific example, virtually all of the impact is coming from transportation. So Paul is telling us that almond milk is being shipped via plane to the UK with no source whatsoever, by the way. I could find no evidence for this, and it really doesn't make sense that it would be shipped via plane. It is so much more expensive to ship by plane versus by boat, because by boat, you can carry a lot more things, right? So the cost per food item goes down. Typically, the foods that are air freighted are highly perishable foods like asparagus, strawberries, foods that would not survive a long boat journey, right? So they have to be transported by plane. Almond milk is not a highly perishable food. So yeah, it just makes no sense that companies would choose plane travel. Now, this is not to say the vegan diet is worse for the planet than a meat-eating one. In almost every regard, it's not. Other studies have shown how going vegan vastly reduces greenhouse gas emissions, water pollution through fertilizers and pesticides, and land use than diets in which more than 100 grams of meat a day was eaten. Other studies? How about this study? This very study he's referencing again says that plant-based diets are better, like on all fronts. Even processed plant foods like veggie burgers and plant milks still offered substantial environmental, health, and nutritional benefits compared to animal-sourced foods. Did he even read the study? This is so strange. But the vegan lifestyle is still not quite as saintly and virtuous as its perma-pious devotees would have you believe. Take avocados. We should by now all know about how the vegan's favorite source of folate and monounsaturated fat comes with some dark ethical issues. So popular have the green fruits become, we must now talk of conflict avocados. In certain parts of the world, the trade involves powerful cartels, child slave labor, and illegal deforestation. Weird paragraph. Like the focus of the article is supposed to be on the environmental impact of these foods, yet he makes no concrete environmental impact claims here. The closest he comes is illegal deforestation. But again, when we talk about environmental impact, it's a comparison. Compared to what? So, total carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram for avocados, including transportation, is about 2.5. That is more than most plant foods. Bananas, for instance, are 0.86, but it's still less than every animal product shown here. Significantly less than most of them. Avocados have about 54% of the impact of eggs, 25% of poultries, 2.5% of beefs. To pollinate their crops, commercial farmers depend on migratory beekeeping, an uneco practice that involves driving populations of bees over vast distances. Laugh if you like, and there's an idea for a new Wallace and Gromit cartoon in there somewhere. I hate this writing. The insect exploitation involved means avocados are, strictly speaking, not suitable for vegans. Again, comparison. Environmentally friendly means compared to what? What are the other options? It doesn't mean no impact whatsoever. Even the most environmentally friendly foods have some negative impact. And avocados are not the only foods to use transported bees. Almonds, blueberries, oranges. Animal products are still significantly worse. Would it be better to source plant foods that don't use migratory beekeeping? Possibly, although I suspect the amount that would add to the total carbon footprint would be pretty small. More importantly, how would you do that? How would you choose foods grown without migratory beekeeping? There's no label for that. You could avoid the ones we do know, like almonds. Apparently 2/3 of the nation's honeybee colonies pollinate California almonds when they're in bloom. But again, I doubt that makes much of a difference footprint-wise. Animal cruelty-wise, I think this is just really silly, and I'm really surprised to see it come from a fellow vegan. It sounds like something an anti-vegan would say, again, to try to change the discussion and make us look silly. If avocados aren't vegan because of bee transportation, then neither are a lot of other foods. Which foods? Which plant foods? No idea, because again, there's no labeling for that. And just because bees aren't transported to a crop doesn't mean they aren't used, doesn't mean they aren't bred and used specifically for pollination. And what about all of the other animals that are killed or displaced by our plant foods, right? The plants we grow and harvest. By this logic, no food is truly vegan. So like, what's the point? It just makes the whole discussion meaningless. Average shoppers can't avoid produce that involved migratory beekeeping any more than they can avoid driving on asphalt, which has animal ingredients. But they can save nearly 200 animal lives every year by choosing plant-based foods. Veganism is not about perfection. It's not about killing ourselves, because just existing is displacing and killing countless animals. We've all stepped on who knows how many insects. Veganism is about avoiding animal exploitation to the best of our ability, as far as is possible and practicable. Cashews, which are widely used to create vegan alternatives to cream and cheese, have also been singled out as promoting deforestation and reducing biodiversity. Again, these are problems plaguing several plant crops, not just cashews, particularly biodiversity. That is an issue for industrial agriculture on the whole, and it's not easily solved. The reason we grow so many of just a few crops, like wheat and soy, is because these foods are very efficient and there are a lot of people on this planet to feed. We can grow a lot more variety, sure, but that means less efficiency, less yield, less food to feed people. We need some amount of monocropping. And I should say that typically a major recommendation for improving biodiversity is cutting back on animal agriculture. And while oat milk is vastly better for the environment than almond and other varieties, it is by no means perfect on the carbon emissions front. Several of Britain's leading oat milk brands were recently shown to be shipping their oat milk from abroad or using imported oat syrup, which surely defeats the object. So again, oat milk is not vastly better. All of the plant milks are great choices, but Paul, like so many people, seems to think that transportation is a much bigger issue than it actually is, that it makes up a much greater percentage of a food's carbon footprint than it actually does. For most foods, and particularly the largest emitters, most GHG emissions result from land use change and from processes at the farm stage. Farm stage emissions include processes such as the application of fertilizers, both organic and synthetic, and enteric fermentation. Combined land use and farm stage emissions account for more than 80% of the footprint for most foods. Transport is a small contributor to emissions. For most food products, it accounts for less than 10%, and it's much smaller for the largest GHG emitters. In beef from beef herds, it's 0.5%. Even for avocados shipped from Mexico to the UK, transport accounts for only 8%. So Oatly, whatever, brand shipping oats or oat syrup from elsewhere outside the UK, who cares? Oat milk is more environmentally friendly than cow's milk, regardless of how far it has to travel. And again, no source here at all. Like he says, it surely defeats the object, meaning that there's no point in drinking the oat milk because it's just as bad or worse than cow's milk. You can't just say something like that. I mean, you can, that's the problem, but you really shouldn't. You really should have a source for such a bold claim. As vegans weep collectively into their weak soy lattes at the pity of it all, consider this. Nutritional yeast, a cupboard staple in dairy-dodging households, could be most problematic of all. Made in giant vats by feeding sugar solution to fungus, the resulting fermented gloop is then rinsed and heat-treated in a process that releases acetaldehyde, which is produced naturally by the body but can be as damaging to your DNA as formaldehyde, and is a known carcinogen that can cause esophageal cancer. First, what does this have to do with environmental impact? And second, this is fear-mongering slop. Yes, acetaldehyde is released with nutritional yeast production, and yes, acetaldehyde is a carcinogen. It's probably at least partially to blame for alcohol's link to cancer. But unlike alcohol, nutritional yeast itself is not a source of acetaldehyde. It's the production process itself and inhaling the acetaldehyde that could be problematic. So it's a problem for the workers, not the consumers. Luckily, this is heavily regulated here in the US by the EPA, and since the amount of acetaldehyde released can be controlled to a fair degree, and it is not a beneficial byproduct, there's financial incentive for nutritional yeast companies to reduce the amount of acetaldehyde produced. So yeah, really weird. Whether you take this paragraph to mean that nutritional yeast is bad for the environment, no. That it's bad for our health if we eat it, no. That it's bad for your health if you work in a nutritional yeast factory, No, like it's fear-mongering slop, and probably explains why no one else is making these kind of arguments. And I probably don't need to say this, but like one of the worst, most dangerous places, both physically and mentally, to work, it's not nutritional yeast factories. In their findings, the Oxford researchers concluded that heavily processed vegan products, from plant-based burgers to lab-grown meat, were bad news for the climate. Again, no, they didn't. They never once say don't eat processed plant foods because they're bad for the environment. Their point really is that we can improve our health and the planet by eating foods that are already available, unprocessed and processed vegan plant foods. He throws in lab-grown meat too. They do have a small section on lab-grown meat, but because there's just not that much available, that much data, they don't have a lot to say on it, right? Like obviously it's more expensive. Health-wise, it should be virtually the same as meat, as cruel meat, right? So not great. Environmentally, depends on if it ever gets to scale, right? If it ever gets large enough. So again, what I took from the report is that we don't need lab-grown meat to make serious improvements in our health and for the environment. Now, I do want to end by saying that he's right that a vegan diet isn't perfect. And I don't think like any vegans or plant-based eaters think that. Just because a vegan diet is virtually always significantly better for the environment than an omnivorous one, it doesn't mean vegans can't make improvements. Coffee and chocolate have fairly high footprints, for instance. Rice is fairly high when compared to other plant foods, and it's not very nutritive either. If you eat a lot of rice and chocolate and coffee, it could be worth cutting back. But singling out certain plant foods like Paul does here, seemingly to drag down plant-based eating on the whole or make it seem not as important while also admitting that it's very important, it's just weird. And again, he has a fundamental misunderstanding of environmental impact and how much transportation really matters. No one is eating an almond milk and cashew and avocado diet. It's like pointing to backyard hens and saying, see, eggs aren't cruel, as if the 88 million tons of eggs eaten globally every year come from our neighbors' yards. I am never someone who says like, oh, this person's vegan, but they're going against like the vegan tribe, so they must actually be a shill for big dairy or something. Like, no, of course I don't believe that. But man, it's just so weird. Like even the way it's written, like he wants to make vegan food look disgusting. Nutritional yeast, fermented gloop, feeding sugar solution to fungus, like that's a choice. He says they, like when referring to vegans instead of we, as vegans weep collectively into their weak soy lattes. Weak soy latte, right? Like it can't be good. He's vegan, but he doesn't want to be one. No, I think it's really just, again, a fundamental misunderstanding of transportation, specifically the impact of transportation, and maybe like a desire to be contrarian. Some people are like that. I'm like that to some degree. Being part of a group and like agreeing with everything everyone says, like that just feels so inherently wrong to me, even if I do agree with everything. Point is, weird article, plant milks are great, avocados are great, almonds are great. There's always room for improvement, but I think the important message for the masses is that a plant-based diet is significantly better for the environment than your typical omnivore diet. And don't drink 4 servings of almond milk a day. That's probably not great for you. If it's fortified with calcium, that's a lot of calcium. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe if you did. And thank you so much to all of my supporters, people who support the channel here on YouTube and at my Patreon, patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos for tier 2 members and patrons. One is a vlog and then the other is a controversial video. This month's won't be a controversial. It's going to be something a little more fun. I have merch as well. I have shirts and a couple totes and a mug. And I also have an Amazon store page that I really need to update. Thanks again, guys. New video soon. Should I play Connections real quick? I know I said I wouldn't do that again, but I kind of want to do that again. Flint lighter, microscope, magnifying glass. Slide. Specimen. Ooh, microscope, magnifying glass slide specimen. I'm gonna do it. Eee! Oh, idiot. One away. See, I try every time I start to go through and like make sure before I actually submit anything, but there's just so many things I want to get some out of the way, Something's wrong. What's wrong? Stain? Oh, magnifying glass. Why would I need a magnifying glass with a microscope? Oh, my Lord. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, this game is just not for me. So stain, I think. Oh, thank the Lord. Oh, that was blue. Okay. So I should have 2 really easy ones left. Oh no, why am I missing them? Okay, matches and games. No, I don't see any. No, okay. Matches, lighter, flint, flies, like firefly, or magnifying glass. Right. Oh, yes. Yes, used in starting a fire. All right, sweet. Ray. Sugar Ray Leonard. I don't think it's that. Reflection, consideration. Oh, to reflect on something. Scrutiny, thought. Yes. All right. Started off not good. Making a comeback. Can I actually get this one though? Files, factor, games, ray. Ray gun. Files gun. Olympic Games. Ray game. Factor. No. Oh, it would be Olympic anyway. Olympic Games. Olympic Ray. Olympic Factor. I don't know. What is it? Words after X. X Factor. Man, I don't even... What is X Factor? I've never seen X-Files. X Games? What is that? It's like BMX? Hey, 3 out of 4. I'm happy with that. They could also have said that John Lewis and Lakeland should start selling a knit-your-own plant milk gadget. First, catch your oats. But they bottled it. I have no idea what that means. John Lewis and Lakeland, is that a store? Is that like what? Or is that 2 stores? Or is it 3 stores? Because he doesn't use commas very well. John Lewis and Lakeland should start selling a knit-your-own plant milk. So it's like a clothing store? First, catch your oats, but they bottle it. I cannot parse this. What does this mean? What the hell? There's so much in there. What? Seriously? Did I not start recording? Oh my God. No. How far? Oh, that's a lot. How much do I care about you guys? The audio's not that bad from the camera. But it's not that good either. All right, I'll re-record. Oh, that's so sad. That's so heartbreaking. It's not as bad though. I have lost an entire recording session audio. I've deleted footage before by accident, so like, it could be worse. Okay, take 2.